Hello and welcome to yet another untethered version of the Untethered podcast. Untethered, and I think I've said untethered enough. So,
One more, just one more.
okay, untethered.
Thank you.
Okay.
By the way, I
What?
did
What?
watch our show yesterday and from last week,
Mm-hmm.
and you did say that you were Brad and that I was Josh.
No, I'm pretty sure I said I'm not Brad Pitt, and neither is he, and he's not Josh Holloway, and neither am I. But I am Josh, and he is Brad.
No, you said, but I am Brad, and
No,
no, you,
you had
yes.
wax in your ears.
No, I went back and watched it again today to make sure.
Oh, you had wax in your ears today too, then.
Oh my gosh. Um, oh my gosh. I might.
No,
Take
it's
wax.
entirely possible that I had tongue up of the slip.
Okay, I'm
What
down
the?
with that.
All of a sudden, you are covered in green.
No, I'm not. I swear. This is an optical illusion that you're having.
On my screen, all of a sudden, everything went grayscale in the background, and you are there's green from here down.
Interesting, because on my screen I'm absolutely perfect, and you look like Kermit the Frog. No, I'm kidding. You look like Josh.
It's
But
not easy being green.
sorry. Um, have I
Kermit the
come
Frog
back?
here, bringing you the untethered news for VR and AR.
I think we're getting a little too untethered here, Josh.
All right, Miss P, I'll let you take it away. Ah!
Beauty, 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 beauty.
Oh, you're gonna be the sweetest chap. Okay.
It's easier than Miss Piggy. It really is.
Your
I
turn.
have to go get
It's
the
time
weed.
to cook the news.
It's easier to just do hooty fruity.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Now you're back to normal. All right. Whatever passes for normal in our untethered world. Anyways. So, do you have any highlights this week?
I do actually, but none of them relate back to the quest. Um, I was actually playing with augmented reality this week.
Okay, well, that counts too.
I know, which is why I'm bringing it up. And I created my first little scene in Adobe Aero where I was able to have my little figures jump up and down and spin and create the actions.
Hey.
Yeah, so I like that. And I'm really interested in some of the tools that they're making for creation. Aside from just playing the games, which are, it's still augmented
Right.
reality. You're still holding a phone in your hand, which is just not right.
Right.
We need the goggles. But other than that, I like where they're going. And the fact that they're able to create these tools for us,
Kidding.
I will. But the fact that they're creating tools that are this easy to use at this stage gives me a lot of hope for development.
Yeah.
Really a lot.
Yeah. I've used Arrow before, and if I remember right, they do a kidding.
Yes.
A pretty good job at onboarding. So they do a pretty good job at introducing everything and walking you through how to do stuff, and you're getting your the first little scene underway. So that's probably the biggest thing with anything of that nature is you got to get that onboarding right.
Right. Absolutely.
Otherwise, people are going to go, I can't make anything with this. Bye-bye.
Well, that is one of the things I'm looking into right now. Unfortunately, it looks like in order to do this right, it's XR in the sense that you can't abandon one for the other. You have to do both because they're merging and they will be produced on the internet for agnostic headsets at some point.
Right.
So I don't think that the ecosystems that are being created now will obviously stay alive for several years because of
Right.
the funding from corporations. But I think the disbursement will eventually go to web and XR.
Well, yeah. Um, as much as everybody kind of disparages a little bit the WebXR stuff compared to the native,
Mhm.
that's where it's going to have to go at some point, is some sort of WebXR 3.0, or,
Right.
where it works and it can hook into those native things. So,
Exactly. That's why I say the agnostic headset is the
right,
future. So
right,
it's crazy because it's like I see the problem that Haptic has by trying to be an agnostic accessory, but
right,
they're still dependent on the programmers.
right,
So as opposed to a black box or something that would make it,
right,
work with everything, which is what we used to do.
right,
So, looking at how it's all being developed right now, the thing that really blows my mind is the fact that you can now download Chrome onto your iPhone and you
mhm,
can utilize Google Assistant in ways on your iPhone,
yeah,
which means they've opened up ports. Google and Apple
mhm,
might not be the best of friends, but they're
right,
shaking hands. They
right.
are shaking hands for the first time. And
Even
I
if they're
think,
hiding a knife behind the back with the other hand.
oh, agreed, agreed. Like I said, they're not best of friends, but they are shaking hands, which means that there's possibility of movement here because they're necessary. Both of them are absolutely necessary to
Yeah.
this. So that's that made me think Tim Cook might not be the complete jerk I think he is. And it's interesting that that's the partnership that formed,
Right. Oh
you
yeah.
know, and Zuck seems to be left out here.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he's got partnerships he's working on too.
Oh, absolutely. But he's got problems in the sense. Are you hiding Zuck behind there somewhere?
I don't know what that was.
Okay, well, it's in pain. Um,
No, that was probably my son being very loud, for who knows what reason.
he doesn't need one, as
No,
long as
he's
he
only
does.
9. He doesn't need any reason. He just, hey, I feel like being loud.
Listen, after the year and a half we've had, let him go crazy. It doesn't matter. Um, yeah, so I mean, the thing like we were talking about before is just I see the convergence is actually happening, and the companies that need to converge are allowing it to go forward.
Right.
And that, I'm watching the gatekeepers open the gates, and I don't know how many people are paying attention to that, but that's major.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I mean, right now it's only open like an inch, but that's how it starts.
It's like that. That's what I mean. I don't ever remember. Was there ever any operating system before they went into the 14s that allowed you to download Chrome?
Um,
Mm-mm.
Linux-based ones.
I'm saying the iPhone you were gonna right, but the iPhone you were gonna not have the real Chrome. You were gonna get the Chromium.
Right.
But yeah. So to me, this is great news because it all has to converge, and
Yeah.
like I said, this is the way in the Mandalorian. This
Yeah.
is the way. So
Well, speaking of conversions, I picked up a few more Korvax conversions cubes in No Man's Sky.
oh, congratulations! How
um,
that now?
those are items for trade and whatnot in the game. So, and I'm making more progress in there. I've got like 13 or 14 hours in the game now.
Wow.
Since the start of the expedition thing at the beginning of the month. So I'm not going too crazy, but I'm just spending like an hour or two in it every day. So, or almost every day.
I haven't had time. That's the problem. I forgot that research on this stuff right now. I don't know how many people understand what we were talking about before with the amount of processors that are hitting the market this year.
Right.
Completely new processors that are going to be strictly for the machine that they're sitting in.
Right.
I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I really don't.
Well, the advantage of specialization is it makes it highly efficient and optimized, but the disadvantage means that it's a little bit more expensive because it's only for that.
Well, it's not just that. Yes, the optimization.
Well, that's one of the disadvantages.
The main disadvantage I see is going to be the same problem they had with the AMD and the Intel at the beginning, which is AMD is not the same as Intel. And that floating point unit in the original processor did not work the same.
Right.
And if that's going to be the case, which we won't find out until somebody operates one type of software and one type of computer, and then all of a sudden we'll find out the news. And then you'll find out where the incompatibilities lie. And for certain people, they'll never see it. And for other people that are using intensive programs, those will be the ones that'll suffer the most. If there's
it's that's the problem with the PCs in general is everyone is going to have, or a lot of people are going to have different configurations, and not all of them are going to be compatible with everything out there, and that's why, to an extent, the consoles do so well is because they're basically the PCs as well. It's just all of them are exactly the same. So you don't have to design your software for 20 million different possible configurations, just one.
Right. Which is something that has never really existed. We've always lived in a world of multiple platforms, but it's like even right now with the PlayStation Xbox wars going on, the craziest part is this. I've spoken to people that own the PlayStation 5, and I've spoken to people that own the Xbox Series X, and I asked them, like, wow, it must be great. And they went, I've seen no difference. And it's like, seriously? And they were like, yeah, waited months to be able to get my hands on this thing, loaded it up.
Yeah.
No difference.
Well, yeah, the differences are getting more and more
minuscule,
minor, infinitesimal, and so you're not necessarily going to notice them on the screen, but they're behind the screen, obviously, but you're not necessarily going to go, whoa, market difference,
And after you've spent that kind of money,
you want to notice that.
Yeah, you really, really want to notice that, especially when you're paying $70 for a game through PlayStation.
Right.
Which is the big advantage that Xbox Series X, I think we discussed it, has, is the fact that they have that Play Pass, which will give you access to every new game that's going to come to Xbox over the next several years for $120 or something. It's like, how could you pass that up? When you compare the price of the systems, you take that into account. But then Xbox doesn't say anything about VR or AR.
Right.
And PlayStation is pretty much, pushing it that way. So I don't.
You want to know something I discovered on my phone recently? That the button on the side called the volume button. Yeah.
I don't know if mine has that. It's no. What I was flipping out the other day was, how do you actually close a program on an iPhone? On the 12, now that there's no more button. I know, you have to swipe up and hold.
Swipe up, hold.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you continue to read, it will tell you, that's the way to do it, but don't. because that could mess up the.
Well, that's what they say with Android as well. Is
Those four stop.
let the OS handle the memory management, because even though it has like 25 pages of recent apps, um, only the X number are actually held in memory. All the others are just like saved states that are not actually actively held in memory. If you go back to them, it takes a while to load them back in because you haven't accessed them in like weeks and they're not actually in memory anymore. They're just stored there as a, you know.
Well, I had them interfere with an Arrow program I was making the other day. It was like close background apps, and it's like, wait a second. First you tell me not to. Now you're directing me to close them. Um,
Right.
Okay, I thought computers were supposed to have a logic behind them.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, for the most part, if you close an app, it's not gonna just do anything bad. No.
Not like the MagSafe that will stop.
Especially if you periodically reboot it. I mean, that's one thing that I liked about Samsung is it popped up with a reminder every week of, hey, you haven't rebooted your phone in a week. You should probably do it. You know?
I reboot my phone pretty much every day, if not daily, at least every couple of days, because if you own a computer, then you know what it's doing.
Well, a computer, there's a fine balance because of the power surge when you turn it on and all that, and a soft reboot, not really going to cause a power surge, but if you actually turn it off and then back on, which is also advisable to do every now and then, but you don't want to do that every day because that'll potentially fry things. It could.
I did. It's funny because everybody has a different opinion about batteries and what gets fried and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing I can say is that I've never fried a battery by turning off the phone. And
What I usually do is I leave my desktop computers running, and if they start having performance issues, I do a reboot. I go until I notice a problem. I don't,
Yeah, with computer, I don't know how. Sometimes I usually put it to sleep, and then once or twice a week, if it loses a connection with the modem, I have to do a restart anyway. So
yeah,
I'll go.
But anyways, this is no longer strictly speaking VR and AR related.
Wow, we went off the rails there. Okay, bring us back, Josh. Bring us back.
So
your highlights.
Well, I already mentioned one, No Man's Sky. I'm still doing that. Still playing it. Making my way slowly through the expeditions, streaming on Twitch and getting like 1 or 2 viewers. Nobody commenting, except for I got comments one day and I was excited until I realized it was all link spam.
Hey, at least you have somebody watching what you're doing. It's not like you're not entertaining someone. So
I'm entertaining bots. So, anyways, be that as it may, I'm still progressing in that. I'm now on the experimental build because I ran into a bug with the live build that was preventing me from interacting with the AI pilots. So I couldn't interact with them to trade with them or to try to buy their starship off of them. I'd initiate an interaction with them. It would pull up, or it would start to pull up the dialogue tree stuff, and then momentary freeze, and they and their ship are vanished.
Oh man, that's not good.
It started with I interacted with one, and I got a dialogue box where the options were respond favorably to the stranger's comment. Option number 2, respond favorably to the stranger's comment. Option 3, respond favorably.
I'm kidding. I'm figuring out where that was going. Yeah.
And I was soft locked. I couldn't get out of it. I had to exit the game, go back into it to fix it. But after that, every time I tried to interact with them, but when I went to the experimental build, where they've got the fixes for bugs that they haven't pushed to live yet, it's working again. So
That's good.
But I do have to say there's one thing that I am disappointed with, and Hello Games, if you stumble upon this, please. Flat screen, console, etc., can do a stunt that helps immensely with movement speed that I would very much like to be able to do in VR, and that's when you are boosting with the jetpack and you spam the melee button, it boosts you forward a lot faster.
Okay.
And keeps you going longer. I can't do that in VR.
It's probably a motion sickness thing.
It may just be because of the different input.
Right.
In VR, to do the melee, you grab the grip button and you smash your hand down. Whereas in PC, it's all PC technically, but on the flat screen version, it's different. The keys, and you hold down space for the jetpack, and you spam say E for the melee.
Okay, so you're much quicker, right? As opposed to the length of time it takes your arm to complete the movement, you're just pushing.
Right, and because of the different interaction, I'm holding down B on my controller to do the boost, and then I'm grabbing this and they're doing that, and I don't know if it's just because of the difference in the input, if it's just not registering and triggering that, or who knows.
Dude, you're talking about the length of the throw of a key on your keyboard compared to the time it takes your arm to do this. How many times can you do this?
Right. But yeah, so that is something I would like to be able to do. And there's also something that I don't know if I would like to be able to do or not. I probably would, but evidently flat screen has this thing called glitch building, where you can kind of abuse the building system, so you can take tiles that are meant to only be horizontal and make them be vertical or whatever. So you can do things that you can't do with regular building. I haven't really gotten into the building so very much yet, so I don't know if that's something that I really care about or not. But my guess is I probably can't do that in VR either.
I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know what the limitations are. Each programmer seems to find limitations, and others seem to be able to break them. So I don't know.
Yeah. And when you are building in VR, you have the options. So floating here, and it's got arrows for go left, go right. You have to click those arrows. You can't use your stick. You should be able to, but I would imagine, but it's not going through with the stick, and you have to click the arrows better like that. So the easier way is to just move a few items over, click another item, that brings that to the center spot and moves to the row, So
that's ridiculous.
It's a little clunky and a little slower than it is for the people on the flat screen.
Right.
You know, so
That's something they're going to have to work on. They
yeah,
can't obviously
yeah.
make that.
But outside of that, it's been really fun so far.
Cool.
And another highlight, which brings us into the new releases, is I got to play the official release of Swarm.
Yes, I have that now as well.
For the same reason, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. Which we can't talk about.
Nope.
So, it is fun. As I remembered it being, I got to the first boss and it took like 7 tries or so to beat him.
Oof, that I'd be sick. I would be sick. I couldn't. But it must have been fun for you. You non-motion sick person, you.
Yes, I don't get motion sick, so yes.
If you do get motion sick, it's going to take you 6 or 7 times. Rest.
Well, I get Icarus regularly in the game. I get Wet Feet. I get Call Me Mr. Bolt. So,
You high flying guy, you.
not when I get wet feet.
No, but Icarus. I mean, how much closer to the sun can you get? Speaking of which, did you see the newest article in the New York Times? Microsoft, working with the local Microsoft and physicists, have been working to figure out that we are now living in a heuristic universe. Okay. So yes, we are living in a self-learning universe.
Uh-huh.
Which I thought evolution pretty much taught us, and the black hole, and the fact that, you know, half the elements on the planet were created somewhere else with stars exploding. But, you know, it's nice to know that they finally figured out that this is probably happening for a reason.
Well, Elon Musk would be happy.
I don't know. With Elon, I don't know what makes Elon.
Well, he thinks we are living in a simulation. So if we're living in a simulation, of course it would be one that would be implementing machine learning.
Right. I'm going to say that right now that seems to be where scientists are heading. And I don't know if it's because that is where it is or because that's what we've created with virtual reality and with all of these alternate realities. And if we can do it, then why not somebody creating something bigger like a universe that does it?
I don't know. But I do know that you too can learn from things as you manage traffic in traffic jams and get better and better at it as you go.
You mean like you're doing with your segways?
How was that for a segue?
I liked it. It was took a little work, but it was nice. Have you played Traffic Jam?
So Traffic Jam came out too. I have not played it. It's not one that really interests me. I'm not really into the time management games very much. So
you know, go back to the originals like Time Stall. I don't think they've improved on it. You know, honestly, some of the original time games were probably the best.
Well, and I haven't played Time Stall either. I mean, so Time Stall isn't really a time management game, in my opinion. What I mean by a time management game is like so Cookout Simulator, so Cooking Mama on the mobile devices. You know, where it gets more and more so chaotic, and you have to do this before you do that, and you have to get this ready because that customer needs it, and so you've got to service this customer before that customer because he was, you know.
It's the slapstick, wacky kind of game, yes.
Right.
I don't like those.
Yeah, and I'm not really into that kind of game. So, and the Traffic Jam is kind of that kind of game. You have to increasingly manage more and more chaotic stuff.
Right.
So,
I already have something I do that in called life.
Yes.
So I don't.
On the other hand, my wife loves time management games, especially if they are cooking oriented. She played Cooking Mama, and she's, I think, beaten it at least once, or gone all the way through and whatnot. So,
well, let's face it. I mean, it's like liking Beat Saber or liking hunting game, Pop One. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
something's going to float your boat and something's not. But
Yeah. So,
oh,
anyways, back to Swarm briefly. For those who have not heard of it, it's kind of like um, Jupiter Grad is kind of like a grapple tournament in that you are shooting a grappling gun and pulling yourself up and swinging. Only this is the only locomotion method, unlike in grapple tournament where you can also run on the ground and whatnot.
which,
I believe,
mhm.
and this is an arcade style, basically a wave shooter kind of thing.
Yeah.
You are in a level and you have enemies. You gotta shoot them and rack up as many points as you can in the time allotted, or you have to survive as long as you can in the time um, in the time allotted. And every 5 or 6 levels, you get to a boss, and
Sounds a lot like
yeah,
a web shooter.
yes. So, um, and it does a fairly good job at onboarding you, I believe, and walking you through, introducing you to all the mechanics. You have a slow-mo mechanic where you need to keep the meter filled up by grappling, but then when you've got enough juice in the meter, you can enter slow-mo for a period of time and shoot as many shots as you want at the heaviest enemy or whatever. You know? And then later on, you are introduced to the zip button, which lets you choose a target platform and zip to it. So if you're about to fall in the water and you don't think you'll be able to grapple yourself up quickly enough, but you have a zip available, you can zip upward and then grapple and save yourself from getting eaten by a shark, which actually happens in the game now.
Really?
Yes, if you fall in the water, you get eaten by a shark.
That's new.
Yes.
That wasn't. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, if you fall in the water, you see a shark going, and then
Okay. I
yes,
like it.
you get
It
eaten by
fits.
a shark if you die. So, but yeah, it's a really fun game. It's a fairly casual game. Also, it's not a what I find cool and kind of is this wasn't their last time I played it in the beta. I'm not sure when they introduced it. I was last in the beta like last year or something like that. But they introduced a cutscene intro thing that's very reminiscent of the Pistol Whip 2089 update.
Oh, really?
Kind of that 2.5D diorama look where you can look and so it's got some parallax, but it's obviously layered. You know,
Right. So yeah, they're finding new. Well, who's the one that's working now? The ones that did Cosmo Dread. They're the ones that are coming out with Oblivion. Who's? I know there's. No, no, not
no,
Oblivion. What's the other one that's coming out now?
what Wraith the Oblivion?
No, no, not Wraith. The other one that's.
Are you talking about Kari and the Reaper Man?
No, there's a, they're working. The ones that just did Cosmo Dread are working on another one that's supposed to be released within like another month, I think.
Not as far as I know.
Okay, I'll have to look it up. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. I'll check that out. But there's one company I know that one of these studios just introduced a game that's good, and they were introducing another one right on top of it. Oh, the one that did Dread Halls. Yeah, they're the
That's
ones
the one
that
that
did
did Cosmo
Cosmo
Dread.
Dread. Right, they did Cosmo Dread, and now they're releasing another one. That's what I'm saying. I just
Okay,
was,
I hadn't heard of that then. I guess. So.
okay, good. Like, yeah, they had an interview with the studio. I was kind of surprised as well, but
Okay. Oh, okay. But anyway, it's now time to talk about the best new release ever on App Lab, the Unity Cube. Become one with the cube. You have a 90 hertz refresh rate Unity Cube floating up in front of you, and you have hands. And that is the extent of the game.
Yep.
You can do whatever you want, given that you can't actually do anything in the game except move your hands. But
I don't understand. I
well,
don't.
what this is he was. This is from Tony Scarred Ghost.
Right.
And he was going through the App Lab process so that he could write an article about the App Lab process to help people get approved into the App Lab. So, and he wrote this app, and he did have one. It took like 4 to 6 weeks or whatever for the initial process, and then they got back to him saying that it was asking for a permission that it didn't need, because by default it has microphone permission turned on, but if you're not using microphones,
Right.
you're not using voice chat, you don't need microphone permission turned on. So and he looked up how to get rid of that, and so he turned that off, resubmitted it, and a couple of days later, okay. And he says this shows that there's absolutely no curation in the App Lab store, which is a good thing because that's what you want in like an early access or whatever sort of thing.
How much are they charging for that one?
That's free. Unity Cube is free.
At least he did that. He should have actually charged the buck just so you can see how slimy that is. But the same thing is happening with Apple now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happening with apps that Apple, if enough people, if you put an app there and you buy 500 of your own apps with phony names, Apple will actually say that you are Apple approved and certified.
Well, that's a little bit different. That's an actual scam. That's actually being shady.
But it's happening now. And now it's like all of a sudden the App Store on the iPhone, there are warnings coming out now daily, and they're talking about the $9.99 a week subscriptions, and they're talking about all of these crazy things that Apple is allowing, that Apple got its reputation by not allowing.
Yeah.
So,
and yet Apple couldn't possibly allow Fortnite to sell stuff not on the Apple Store.
I know. This is and they keep going back to that $10 a week subscription. It's like, come on, seriously. Like, seriously.
Well, the $10 a week is subscription thing only gets the devs like $7 a week. Apple gets $30. And then the devs have to, out of that $7 that they get, they have to give $2 more to Unity, so they only get $5 a week.
So the subscription model doesn't work. That's the problem. It's like, then sell it or don't. Once you get up to a $500 a year program.
What I was going with is that's one of the reasons why.
No, I got it.
Epic was just forcing this so that they could make a court case out of it. It's because that $30 cut from the stores plus the $30 cut from the engine, it's like
too much.
30%.
I understood what you were saying.
The 30%. That's like 50
that was the profit.
60% right there.
Right, that was your profit and then some.
Yeah.
So obviously, like I said, the subscription model is not working on them taking 30%.
Right.
So they have to change that if they want to keep subscriptions in their ecosystem.
Yeah.
Which I understand, but
yeah.
I would call it.
Speaking of what monkeys have to do in order to play Pong with the brains, Space Slurpees came out on PC. It's, I believe, coming out for the Quest soon, but it hasn't released on the Quest yet, but it's coming out soon. It's that basically Slither.io game in VR made by the makers of Star Blazers, which is a real-time strategy game.
Right. But
This is not a real-time strategy game.
It
is real-time, but it's not strategy.
I didn't see the connection. I don't see the correlation here. It's very
well. So the correlation is it's the same studio, and in Star Blazer, in the lore of Star Blazer, they mentioned Space Slurpees.
Okay.
And now they've made a game based on that mention of Space Slurpees. And in the Space Slurpees game, they have Easter eggs referring back to Star Blazer, as well as to their other game, Virus Popper. Which also has references to Star Blazer in it.
How could it not?
Oh.
That's great.
But wait, there's one more new release I wanted to talk about. Virtual Studio VR on the App Lab. $14. It is a VR modeling studio. Full polygonal-based modeling. And you can change the materials, move the lighting, change the color of the lighting, and all that stuff, and do kit bashing, import models of like 5 or 6 different file types.
So, wow.
Yeah. So,
that's very cool. I didn't see that at all. What was the name of that one?
Virtuo Studio.
Oh, yeah. I saw that you wrote that. Have you used it?
I have not used it yet. I'm considering picking it up and giving it a try soon, just seeing how well it works and how it compares with other creation apps I have used. So
right, it sounds like when they can give you the ability to start mixing different file types. That's impressive. That always is impressive. So definitely want to get my hands on that and play with that one too.
Yep. So, now we can move to upcoming titles. Finally, Carly and the Reaper Man is actually coming. It's supposed to be coming out on the 15th, which is
next Friday.
Coming Thursday.
Thursday, right? Yay.
Yes. And I don't have a date for this yet, but Anacast Maker is coming soon. I saw that announced on Twitter. It is well, why am I blanking on the name of it? Flipside Studio or Mindscape, I think it was. The other one was like Mindscape or whatever, I forget. But it's along the lines of those where you can create Mind Show. You can create stories and videos using models that you inhabit and then animate and whatnot, and control, and you can. It's a VR film production, so kind of. I don't know too many details on this, but unlike Mind Show, that looks like it's not using really weird and bizarre looking avatars, but it's using anime-inspired avatars. At least that's what was shown in the video. It could be that you can import whatever model as long as it's rigged or whatever. So But yeah, it looks exciting, and it's coming to Quest 2 at some point. And it looks like it's intended to make short animations, so not full-length films.
But still, anything that they can give us to do creation at this level is fantastic, honestly.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I have used Mindshow. I've used Flipside. They're both fun. Mindshow is kind of unique in a way in that you can have multiple characters, and you record one, and then you hop out and you inhabit another one, and then you interact with the recording of the one that you already did,
Which is fantastic. I love that idea. I really do.
So you are remixing your own recording.
Well, you're the producer of your own world, which is fantastic.
So,
inside of virtual reality, which is
But Mindshow hasn't been updated in a while, and I think it's no longer a thing. I mean, it's still there, and I think you can still use it if you own it, but it's kind of dead at this point.
A lot of programs have sort of been left by as many as have gone on to become great and greater and greater, as many that have been left behind. And like,
on the other hand, and we'll get into this in the news, Flipside is still going strong. So, anyways, also coming out this next week, Population 1 solo modes. They announced it on the 16th. So Friday, they will have private room solo mode option. So
interesting, huh?
That's what a lot of people have been wanting, is solo mode, where I have my own team. Let's just go mano a mano a mano a mano a mano.
Right, exactly. I mean, the multiplayer is great, but there's so many people in there. The private room was a great idea. The idea of a private room for yourself is a great idea too.
Yeah.
So, like we've said before, gives the people the options, and if you can give everybody that, I mean, look at how Pop One has grown since the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, they finally opened up the tower, and you can go in the tower now, which people have been wanting since in the beta. So before it was released.
Right.
They're like, what's in the tower? I think that there should be a reward if we get to the top of the tower.
I used to drop down onto the top and climb up there, and it was just like, there's nothing here. There was more on the radar dishes than on the tower. It was like, okay.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So, but yeah, they are finally incorporating the tower to be something other than this big, huge obstacle that you have to run around. So,
it's good that they put it there, because they can do a lot with that, obviously.
Yes. So, but yeah, and now that brings us to our news, and I might as well start off with the Flipside news that I was referring to, which I don't have pulled up. I thought I did, but anyways, so Flipside has they made an announcement that they are bringing in or introducing new features and improved features and whatnot. Let me see if I can pull up the blog real quick and give a better summary. Yes, that they are introducing motion capture support or export, video render, stand-ins, and more. This was officially announced before our last podcast, but I don't think we really talked about it, so I'm just talking about it a little bit more now. And they are also offering a paid subscription plan for added functionality.
How unusual.
All the existing functionality remains free for everyone, but the watermark removal and some of the new features below will be paid only. So the motion capture data export, which obviously will give us a better result than the inverse kinematics. A video renderer, which will give the different options, capture multiple cameras in one render path, queue multiple renders to run back to back, the different resolutions available, different output formats available, adjustable frame rate. So it gives you more options.
Wow, no, that's a ton of options.
Yeah. Improved movement retargeting, so that here I will share the screen so you can see what I am talking about here. The one on the right does not have the retargeting applied. The one on the left does. So if your body height and your arm length and whatnot do not match the models, what is on the right is what happens.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's not going to cause the stretch.
The new system, it constrains so that it looks more like on the left.
Right.
So
that's excellent.
Yeah, which is a very, very good thing, and that is one thing that bugged me a little bit about my Ready Player Me avatar in VR chat, because it does what the one on the right does.
I guess they'll have to figure out how to get rid of that. And this is what happens, it's just a development stage. Eventually, it's going to just be a picture and a 3D image and volumetrics.
Yeah, so unlike my show, the flip side is still going strong.
It sounds like Flipside is trying to become the animation studio for the.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good, product, and it works on Steam VR. It works with Oculus headsets. It works with your Quest 2 using Virtual Desktop and whatnot. So, yeah.
Excellent. What kind of price are they getting on the subscription on that?
I don't know that it
says that. Yeah. That usually means high.
Yeah, well, I don't think they've got a. Oh no, there is a pricing page. Okay.
I was going to say
the pricing page says consumer is free. Indie, $39 a month. Pro, $249 monthly, and Enterprise is contact us. Indie means that you are making commercial stuff, but you are making less than $1 million annual revenue. You can render the video up to 1080p. You can export the motion capture data and get email support, as well as the watermark gone. Pro is you are making over $1 million a year. Watermark removed. Render the video up to 4K. Render depth maps. Export motion capture data, priority support. Enterprise is custom integrations, custom training and support, custom asset creation, and bulk licensing. So
the depth thing is back. That's major depth.
Yes.
Okay, that's where the extra 110 a month comes in. All of a sudden, you have to be making over $1 million a year to be able to do depth.
Yeah, and pay $250 a month.
Can't I just use the LiDAR on my iPhone?
I don't know. Okay. Anyways, moving on. So somebody made basically a homebrew in Infinite Office.
And I was reading about that.
A YouTube video showing it off. So.
And it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool, and it gives us kind of a teaser, a taste of what the actual Infinite Office might look like or feel like or whatever. So,
well, we'll know when Quest 3 comes around, and
yeah,
next week or whenever.
Who knows at this point?
I don't know. I really don't. It's like, what was that thing that Rosie put up there? It's when she put up the picture of the headset that hasn't been released yet and said, now that we've got the accessories out of the way, let's go. It's like, huh?
I think that was regarding the HTC one, wasn't it? Because the HTC had released a teaser that it turned out to be accessories.
Right. But then they also show the picture of the edge of a headset
Yeah,
that they're
yeah,
teasing as the
yeah.
standalone.
HTC, yeah, which was the next bit of news I was going to go into. So good timing. um, HTC posted a teaser of their new headset, which is a very closely cropped and fading out sharply to black, so you couldn't see much detail at all, except that it appeared to be a headset that's using inside-out tracking because it's got a camera pointing in the same way that a Quest camera would.
Right.
But a few people, including our own RJ Does VR, lightened the image and increased the contrast and found some hidden features that are there that you just can't see in the default image. Looks like a power button on the sides somewhere, something else right down here, and like a blacked out logo up here.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, no, I think that the image, to me, it looked like they were trying to show that it's just as thin, or on the thinner side, the way that Apple is going.
Right.
You know, and getting that headset down to those more sort of like ski goggles as opposed to.
Right. Well, it looks like if that is a power button, it looks like it's going to be close to the same as the Quest and the how far out it sticks. So, but it might be a little bit closer. I don't know.
I know it's until you actually see it on a face, you're not going to. The way the picture is, it's just shot at an angle that could be completely deceptive. So
yeah, exactly. But it is interesting to see that they are working on a new headset. Hopefully, they have learned from their mistakes with other standalone aimed headsets, and they are making it more like how the Quest 2 is. Not that I wanted to be a Quest 2 clone, because that would result in a lawsuit, I'm sure. But if they made it similar to the Quest 2, you know, if they use the XR2 processor, if they have access to a better processor, who knows? But if they use that inside-out tracking and they do all the same sorts of things that the Quest 2 does, but they include by default the ability, or they bundle it with a cable to connect to the computer if you want a link cable, you know, and they by default include an option for wireless streaming to your computer as well.
Correct.
You know, and I know some people, including once again RJ, have decried that idea because everyone's Wi-Fi setup is different. There's a lot of places in the U.S. where we don't have good internet access. Well, you don't need good internet access for the local computer to headset Wi-Fi.
Right.
That doesn't require internet access. That just requires a solid Wi-Fi connection.
Correct.
And if they made their own Wi-Fi adapter that was a dedicated
I see where you're going.
HTC Vive standalone headset adapter, you know.
Well, they tried doing that once, and but you had to open up the box and put in the card, and that's where it was a no-go.
Right, but if they did it better this time, you know, like if they did it as just a device that you plug into the wall, a dongle that you plug into your computer, whatever, you know, and the ability to connect with it was built into the standalone, you know, that might work, you know.
Right. I know. I'm thinking that's
who knows? All this is speculation, and they may not have learned from their mistakes at all. Who knows?
If they would watch this show, then they would learn what we are trying to tell them. But you know, we'll see where they go.
But yeah, I mean, if they came out with a standalone headset, even if it were priced at $100 or $200 more than what the Quest 2 is, there are so many people that don't like the idea of some of the things that you have to do with the Quest 2, that they go, I'm getting that.
Not just that, if you look at the
You know?
finish on the product, it looks like a more finished product.
Right.
You know, it's not cheap white plastic.
And if it gives access to Viveport, Steam VR, it also gives access to the Oculus Store.
Correct.
If nothing else, through Revive. You know?
I'm like I said,
Which doesn't work with everything, but
no, it doesn't. But like I said, we've seen Google and Apple open up to each other. So I don't see, this is all going to have to be, like I said at the beginning, agnostic. It will have to be agnostic at some point. So let all the players come now and get their, feet wet, and we'll see who's the Gordon. Let's see who the last man standing is.
Yes. And we are running a little bit long here, but oh well. Moving on to the next bit of news. Evidently, the Uber iOS app will, at some point in the future, include AR for finding your driver.
Yeah, I know. It's sort of like the AR app for finding your car, which is great unless you're parked in a concrete parking facility, in which case, signal lost.
Yes. But no, this is probably a useful feature rather than, say, look for the black Ford whatever and you don't know your car models by sight. You go, well, I see 6 black cars. Which one? Yeah.
Exactly. No. If it works, then it's, accurate, then it's great.
Yeah. Speaking of devices and interoperability, Decamove is opening things up to allow phone-based, hip-based tracking with their API, rather than people having to reverse engineer and do hacky things. So they do this because, well, number one, it makes a little bit of business sense to say, hey, if you're going to be doing this, why don't we make it so you can do it and still be using our product? Which is have foot in the door to actually get them into their product. Go, wouldn't it be nice if this worked like 10 times better? Our product works a lot better than the phone on your hip does.
Yeah. It is a good introductory step, I guess.
Yeah.
I know very few people have headsets. I know anybody I even talk to about the possibility of showing something through a headset is like, I don't have a headset. I don't have access to a headset. I don't have, it's like, right. I know you can't afford the $200 to.
Yeah. But what I find interesting is in their announcement, about this, they made several slams on Google Cardboard, basically saying, just like VR progressed beyond a phone and a cardboard box, we feel hip tracking should move beyond a phone on your hip, or or something like that.
I mean, I understand, I got it, but it's just that all the people that come in and say we're going to change this forever, and then a month later they're not there anymore, and we'll see.
Right, but they're getting a lot of goodwill as a result of this move. So a lot of people are looking at it favorably, which I can understand, because rather than what other companies might do and try to shut it down so that it can't be reverse engineered or whatever, or sending a cease and desist notice, or they are embracing it and saying, hey, come in, be part of the official thing.
Right.
So
no, I mean,
we'll see. I think that's a good move.
They need they need that because they're a no name at this point.
Right.
They need, like what's happened to Nreal. Remember, we were waiting for our Nreal AR glasses that will probably never see the United States before 3 other companies manufacture them for here.
Right. Speaking of things that are seeing the United States, servers-wise, more than 50 companies are now using Ready Player Me avatars, evidently.
Yeah,
So that's quite a few companies that
it
are
is.
using those avatars.
I know. It could be leading somewhere.
Yeah, they are certainly hoping that it's leading somewhere.
I know. Well, look, 50 companies, that's a pretty big standard to start with, depending on the size of the companies they have.
Right.
If
Well,
they're
I
all
mean, one of
indies,
those is the art chat. So that's right there one of the biggest places where the avatar would be being used in the first place.
right. But VR chat's going to have to start doing something about their graphics and their maintenance on their entire system.
Well, they are. They are taking steps on that. They are trying to crack down on the people that have all those unoptimized avatars and whatnot, trying to increase the parity between Quest and the PC.
Right, I know.
So,
But
so that the Quest users are not stuck seeing the default robot all the time.
that, and they're going to have to do that. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
something they have to. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
go in and
yeah. So they had a big announcement a couple weeks ago about it, and I read the announcement, and I'm like, there's quite a few people that are not going to be happy about that because they're going to be left out of the featured worlds and whatnot because they're not complying with the new
mm,
standards and whatnot. So. But hey, what you got to do.
right. Hey, I don't want to play a Nintendo 64 game on my Oculus headset, so that's just the way it is. You
Right.
know.
So, anyways, speaking of places that will not be using a Ready Player Me avatar, Iron Lights had an update introducing 2 new classes, as well as the ability to, evidently in a sandbox, record your own AI
All the
character.
right,
So,
all the weapons are now open, including
yeah,
what they said were like crazy, wacky weapons.
right.
And I think the new guys they introduced, one of them has a whip, and the other
Or the
one
whip the other
is
way.
got it. And also, I think the other one is the dragoon or the musketeer, like uses.
Dragoon, yeah.
Yeah, that should be pretty interesting. But once again, he's always interested in improving his product. So
What I'd like to know is it a Panther Dragoon?
I think Konami, isn't that Konami?
Maybe, I don't know. I forget.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
forget.
I just had to make the joke. That's
I
all.
know, I know. You're forgiven.
And that brings us to our last bit of news: $22 homemade VR haptic gloves project. They're getting cheaper every day. All these the do-it-yourself ones.
I know.
He doesn't have force feedback and the haptics actually there yet, but he is adding them into the next prototype. And just like the other under $100 one that we saw recently, is buying a whole bunch of badge reels and 3D printed enclosures to transfer them into and whatnot. And so you've got a retractable string coming from a badge reel that's right here, and here for the thumb, going to the tip of your finger. Um, and it can track each individual finger, whether it's open or closed, and it's using Arduino and all the same kind of stuff as the other projects for right now. It ignores possible rotations or just spreading of the fingers.
Okay.
It's just a linear
Right.
open and closing of them, which is really all you need for most VR games.
Well, he would have to include the string here, or they would have to. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
And
have to
process.
include the ability to do the Vulcan greeting. Yeah,
Exactly.
uh, but um, his next prototype version is going to be moving to Bluetooth instead of a wired connection, and the force feedback and the haptics, so that when you grab a virtual object, it locks the string so that you can't pass all the way through the virtual object. Because, as we all know, this is exactly how you hold an apple in real life. Right?
I hope it comes with
Yeah.
tooth
Yeah.
guard.
So if your hands lock on the apple like that, that's going to feel much more realistic.
Let's be real. It's the banana. We're looking to be able to peel the banana.
Banana for scale.
I would pop a can of soda at you if I had it right now. That would be kind of cool too.
But yeah, so that's an exciting project. He is currently making all of the files for the 3D printing, and all of his Arduino program code stuff available for free.
That's amazing.
Because evidently, as a student, he's not in the position to be able to sell stuff. So I'm like, pretty sure students can sell stuff.
Not if they're using the student version of the software to create it.
Maybe. That's a fair point. But I don't think Arduino has license.
I'm not sure, but there must
sure.
be a license involved if he's saying he can't sell it because he's a student.
Yeah, so, but anyways, for now, it's freely available. He wants to try to make it more consumer available at some point, because right now no one can get real haptic gloves like that because no one made a consumer product of them yet.
No, they're making those ridiculous Hulks.
Yeah, with the claws and yeah.
Give me a break. I'm going to put on these things that weigh 400 pounds in order to be able to throw a punch. I won't be able to lift my arm. It's like this is crazy. So
yeah. I mean, these are still a little bit bulky looking as well, and ideally he'd want to streamline it so that instead of a badge reel thing, it was something smaller.
Of course. No, he wants it actually inside, like a ligament.
Right.
He really does want ligaments.
Right.
And I would think that anybody that actually can make this would know exactly how to put that piece right there inside the fingertip and attach the ligament inside. And if they really want to go whole hog, they could just put the bracelet right there.
Yeah.
The wrist reader.
Well, yeah. I mean, that right there. If it were me, I'd include the Myo wristband.
That's what I just said.
For the sensing of intent and whatnot and all that, so tracking the muscle movement, and maybe include the force feedback and the haptic coming off of the wristband.
Exactly. And you have to put it into the internal ligament. That really is going to be everything, because externally is just ridiculous. It really is. It's like using a fishing rod on your hands. It's crazy.
Right. And I know there are people that have experimented with, well, what if we make the gloves out of a material that stiffens up with the right electric charge or whatever? Well, that would probably work, but that's not really the optimal way, because that's the kind of over-engineered way.
Well, it's over-engineered and probably super expensive to create that kind of material.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas something that's purely mechanical, like a badge reel, it works.
Right. But now if they can just digitize, do exactly what they're doing, just miniaturize it, the same way we did with transistors, and just miniaturize it and put it inside that glove, and now we have something.
Right. Yeah. And he even spoke in his video how kind of the standard way of doing it is to use a flex sensor, but those are really expensive, and they're should be like $10 a finger. Whereas if you use a potentiometer, that's ultra cheap, and they can detect the tension on each of the fingers with just one thing or whatever. No, it's just they can track all of them.
Right,
So
exactly. It's much more efficient. So
yeah.
I
So
just hope that they continue with it. Between that and the way that they're doing the modifications for doing the mocap, it should be a lot easier to actually enter and view the other person's avatars in a much more realistic manner going forward.
Right. So I mean, this is an exciting. I mean, there are like two of these projects that are going along very similar lines now. So
plus the mocap, the motion
yeah,
capture that's going on.
right.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to good things and spending a lot of money by the end of the year or at the beginning of the next year
Well,
on.
hopefully, it won't be spending a lot of money on the cloud, because the both of them want to make it a consumer accessible device, which means that it should not cost hundreds of dollars.
Right.
You know. So, but that brings us to the end of our show, so you can finally answer that phone.
Listen, there's only 30 people waiting for me. You know, that's the price of fame. This YouTube channel has brought so many people to my door. It's stop laughing.
And I see they helped you with your interior decorating too.
Well, no, actually, my transporter is malfunctioning, so the couch is not actually.
And the freezing tells me that it is a good thing that it's near the end of the show. So, on that note, bye. Thank you for watching.
Subscribe, like,
subscribe, drag your friends over, make them click like and subscribe, and then use some force feedback on them. Wait.
We'll
Anyway, we'll see you later. Have fun.
Take care. Bye.